I wake up with this rare confidence that today is the day I become a responsible adult. They're smart, which already feels suspicious because usually responsibility sneaks up on you. It doesn't send a calendar invite. Standing there, brushing my teeth, thinking, you know what? I'm gonna handle things today. I'm gonna make good decisions, real decisions, the kind that look boring from the outside. That's when it starts, because the moment I decide to be responsible, my brain immediately asks follow-up questions it has never asked before. Like, do I need to eat breakfast responsibly? Or can I just stand near food and call it nutrition? Checking emails, which is dangerous. The emails are just tiny emergencies written by people who think faster than me. And I respond confidently to one without fully reading it, which feels productive until later when I realize I agreed to something I don't understand. And now I'm dressed like a person with a plan, but internally I'm negotiating with myself about whether paying bills early makes me better or just paranoid. So I try to organize the house, which turns into me moving the same 3 items to different locations, like I'm confusing burglars. I'm making a to-do list, but the list itself becomes a task because I'm rewriting it to look achievable. They're smart, and at some point I decide to run an errand, which feels like a big step for someone who usually needs a nap after thinking about errands. And the store is full of confident people grabbing items without hesitation, while I'm reading labels like I'm studying for a test I didn't know about. Every choice feels permanent, like if I buy the wrong thing, my life locks into that direction forever. I'm telling myself this is what responsible people do. They commit, but then I'm second guessing in the parking lot because I forgot why I came in the first place. Now I'm holding a receipt like proof that I participated in society. The whole time I'm realizing that responsibility isn't about doing big heroic things. It's about surviving a long series of tiny decisions without panicking. And I'm already tired, like deeply tired. The kind of tired you get from thinking too hard about normal stuff. And I start wondering if responsible people feel this confused, or if they've just accepted it. Because this is the price of adulthood, I'd like to return it with the receipt I clearly kept, and I'm halfway through convincing myself that tomorrow is a better day for responsibility, a weekday or something official, because today has already gotten away from me, and I'm standing there thinking I should at least finish one thing completely before quitting. Maybe just one, something small, something manageable, something that doesn't require another decision because I've used up all my decisions for the day, and now I'm just hoping nothing else. Need to be responsible for at least a few more minutes because I'm not ready to admit that one day was enough to teach me exactly why I normally don't do this. It's exactly why I normally do this. It's this subtle, unearned confidence, the kind that shows up without evidence, like my brain just woke up and said, today feels different. I didn't question it because confidence never explains itself. It just stands there with its arms crossed, waiting for you to follow. I'm looking in the mirror thinking I look like a responsible person today, not because I changed anything, just because I believe it, and belief apparently counts as effort now. That's when I decide this is the day I stop winging life and start doing it on purpose, which already feels bold, because most days I don't even know what the purpose is until it's over. But I'm standing there telling myself I'm gonna make good decisions, not exciting ones, not emotional ones, just solid, boring choices, the kind people don't talk about at dinner, and that thought alone makes me feel productive. Like I already accomplished something by planning to accomplish something later. There's this moment where I'm proud of myself for even thinking this way. Because yesterday, me would have laughed at today me, but today, me feels mature. I've unlocked a new level of adulthood without reading the instructions. And that's the dangerous part, because the confidence grows fast, it spreads into areas it doesn't belong. Like suddenly I think I understand how schedules work, or that I can estimate time accurately, which history has shown I cannot. I don't remember that right now, because confidence has a short memory, and I start making promises in my head, reasonable ones at first, like I'll respond to messages calmly. I won't rush, I'll think things through. And those promises feel safe because they're vague, they don't require action yet. Just intention. Intention is my strongest skill, and I start imagining how smooth the day is going to be, how future me will thank present me, which is wild because future me has never thanked me for anything, but today I believe in him. I believe he's out there somewhere, organized and calm, probably early to things, and I want to be him just for today, so I tell myself this confidence is earned, even though I can't explain how, and that's fine, because responsible people don't over-explain, they just do. Now I'm walking around with this quiet certainty that whatever comes up, I'll handle it. No panic, no confusion, just steady decision making, and the confidence feels so real that I don't even notice how fragile it is, how it hasn't been tested yet, how it's only strong because nothing has challenged it. I don't realize that the entire day is about to politely ask me one small question, something simple, something normal. That confidence is going to pause for a second too long, just long enough for doubt to walk in and sit down. And I'm still standing there thinking I've got this, that I'm ready, that today I finally know what I'm doing, right up until the moment when knowing what I'm doing requires me to actually decide something specific. And that's where the confidence hesitates, just a little, like it's checking the room to see if anyone else knows what's going on. Once that confidence is in place, immediately gets tested by the simplest tasks. And that's where things start to feel suspicious, because nothing dramatic is happening. It's just normal adult stuff. But my brain treats it like I'm diffusing something, like one wrong move, and the whole day shuts down. And it starts with something harmless like checking an email, which sounds easy until you realize emails are just decisions disguised as sentences. And now I'm reading the same line 3 times because I don't want to miss the part where I accidentally agree to be in charge of something. Every word feels heavier than it should. Let me know somehow means this is now your responsibility forever. And I'm trying to respond responsibly, which apparently means rewriting the same sentence over and over until it sounds calm, but not careless, confident, but not bold, friendly, but not available. And by the time I hit send, I feel like I've already used up a portion of my energy budget. There's the idea that I should pay a bill or schedule something. Smart, which sounds productive until you realize scheduling is just guessing the future and hoping it agrees with you. I'm staring at dates like they're trick questions. Smart, wondering if responsible people actually know when things happen or if they're just better at pretending. Now, I'm thinking too much about timing, about money, about whether doing something early is smart or just nervous. Suddenly, I'm tired, not physically, just mentally worn down from having to decide things that don't come with clear instructions. They're smart, and that's when errands enter the picture, because errands always seem manageable until you're in the middle of one, standing in a store surrounded by people who look like they've done this before, confidently grabbing items without hesitation, while I'm holding two nearly identical options and trying to figure out which one says adult more. And it's not about the item anymore. It's about what choosing the wrong one says about me. This purchase is going on some permanent record, and I can feel the pressure building because I don't want to make a careless choice on my responsible day, but I also don't want to stand here long enough for someone to ask if I need help. And they're smart because that would confirm I don't know what I'm doing. And I keep telling myself, this is normal. This is what responsibility feels like. This quiet stress over things no one else seems stressed about. I realize the real challenge isn't the task itself. It's the weight I've given it, because every small decision feels like it matters more than it should. Like I'm auditioning for adulthood, and the judges are watching silently, and I'm trying to stay composed, trying to act like I've been here before, even though internally I'm negotiating with myself about whether I can just leave and try again tomorrow. The hook is that nothing is actually going wrong, but everything feels slightly off, like I'm one choice away from unraveling. I don't notice how much time has passed because overthinking is time consuming. And the more I try to be responsible, the more complicated everything becomes until responsibility itself starts to feel like the problem, not because it's hard, but because it asks you to keep deciding without ever telling you if you're doing it right. And I'm still standing there. They're smart, trying to push through it, telling myself this is part of the process, that once I get through this moment, it'll all smooth out. Even as my brain quietly looks for the nearest exit, at some point it becomes clear that nothing outside of me is actually causing the problem, which is unsettling because I'd much rather blame traffic or a system outage or literally anyone else. But instead, it's just me standing there having a full meeting in my head about something that doesn't require a meeting. And that's when I realize the real obstacle today isn't responsibility. It's the conversation I'm having with myself about it. Because every action comes with commentary. Every decision has a debate panel, and I'm both the moderator and the audience, and no one agrees. So I'll start doing something simple and immediately hear a voice asking if this is the best way to do it. Not in a helpful way, more like a concerned neighbor leaning over the fence, and I try to ignore it. Another voice joins in suggesting a slightly different approach, and now I'm paused, not because I don't know how to proceed, but because I'm trying to satisfy all the versions of me at once, including the one that shows up late with doubts and no solutions. And it's exhausting because I haven't moved, but I feel like I've argued for hours, and the strange part is that from the outside, I probably look calm, normal, maybe even focused, but internally, it's just constant negotiation, like I'm trying to get unanimous approval to exist, and the stakes feel higher than they should because I've already committed to being responsible today. So backing out now feels like failing a promise I made to myself, and that promise didn't have witnesses, but it feels official, and I keep thinking responsible people must have quieter minds, or at least better internal management, because mine keeps interrupting, asking what if questions that don't lead anywhere. Like, what if there's a better option I haven't considered? What if I regret this later? What if this tiny choice is actually a pattern? And now I'm not doing the thing anymore. I'm analyzing the implications of the thing, and that analysis becomes the task, and I'm very thorough with it. which I take as a good sign because overthinking feels like effort, and effort feels responsible, even if nothing is getting done. And I'll catch myself halfway through a thought realizing I don't remember what started it. But I'm too deep to stop. So I finish the argument just in case it becomes useful later, and the hooks keep coming because every moment feels like it's about to turn a corner. Like once I settle this thought, everything will click, but it never quite does. It just leads to another internal checkpoint, another pause, another reassessment. I start to wonder if everyone is doing this silently or if it's just me holding up progress with commentary no one asked for. And that curiosity pulls me further in because now I'm not just thinking about the task. I'm thinking about the thinking, which feels advanced, like a higher level of adulthood. And I'm convinced I'm close to clarity, right up until a new decision appears, small and harmless, and my brain clears its throat, like it's been waiting for this moment, ready to weigh in, ready to slow everything down again. And I'm still standing there, listening, considering, telling myself this is fine, this is normal. This is what being thoughtful looks like, even as the simplest action waits patiently for me to stop thinking long enough to actually do it. Nothing actually explodes or falls apart, which is almost worse because the day doesn't collapse in a dramatic way that would justify how I'm feeling. It just quietly escalates step by step, like a volume knob someone keeps turning when you're not looking smart, and each moment feels manageable on its own, which is how it gets you, because if it all happened at once, I'd know to stop. But instead, it's just a series of small choices stacking on top of each other, and I keep telling myself this is fine. This is how progress works, one reasonable decision at a time, and the first few go okay, nothing impressive, nothing alarming either, and that gives me confidence to keep going, which is a mistake. And they're smart because the next decision requires slightly more thought, and then the next one asks for a little more patience. Now I'm adjusting my expectations without realizing it, lowering the bar just enough to keep moving. The humor is that I don't notice the shift until I'm already deep in it. Until I'm standing there thinking this shouldn't be this complicated, but it is, and not in a loud way, just in this steady, polite accumulation of pressure, like each task leaves behind a small residue of doubt that I don't clean up before moving on. Those doubts start to pile up, not enough to stop me, just enough to slow me down. And I keep assuming there's a turning point coming, some moment where it all clicks, and the rest of the day gets easier, because that's how stories usually work. But this one doesn't do that. It just keeps adding layers, and I'm trying to stay calm, trying to keep my tone reasonable, even internally, because I don't want to spook myself. I realize that's part of the escalation too. The fact that I'm now managing my reaction instead of the task, and each new thing asks a little more from me than the last, not dramatically, just enough that I notice I'm getting quieter. More careful, more hesitant, like I'm conserving energy without knowing what I'm saving it for. There's this hook where everything still looks normal from the outside, no chaos, no raised voices, no mess. But inside it feels like I'm juggling without ever throwing anything in the air. Just holding more and more items and telling myself I've got it. And I'm waiting for someone to step in and say you can stop now. No one does, because technically I'm doing fine. And that's the slow burn of it. The way responsibility doesn't overwhelm you all at once, it just keeps asking if you can handle a little more. Every time you say yes, you don't realize you're agreeing to the next thing too. And the next one after that, and I'm still moving forward, still checking things off mentally, but the space between decisions is shrinking. The margin for error feels thinner. And I'm starting to sense that I'm one small misstep away from losing the rhythm entirely. That awareness adds another layer, another thing to manage, and the day keeps going, calm on the surface, steadily intensifying underneath. As I tell myself I've already come this far, I can handle one more thing, just one more. Right as the next decision quietly arrives and waits for me to acknowledge it. By the time I notice how tired I am, doesn't make sense because as I haven't lifted anything heavy or done anything impressive, I've just been thinking. Yet it feels like I ran somewhere I never actually went. And that's when it hits me that responsibility isn't exhausting because of the work. It's exhausting because of the constant awareness, the way you have to stay mentally present for things that don't announce themselves as difficult. They're smart. And I'm standing there trying to figure out why I want to sit down after answering a few emails and making a couple of decisions. And they're smart and my body's fine, but my brain feels like it's been holding a door open all day for people who might not even come through. And the hook is that no one warns you about this part. No one says adulthood is mostly just managing low-level concern for extended periods of time. I keep expecting a clear finish line, some moment where I can say, okay, that's done, now I can relax. Nothing ever fully finishes. It just quiets down enough to be replaced by the next thing. I'm realizing that being responsible means you don't get the relief of completion as often. You just get the absence of problems, which doesn't feel like an achievement so much as a temporary pause. That pause still requires attention because something could always come up. And that constant readiness is what's draining me. The way my brain refuses to fully shut anything down, just in case it needs to reboot it later. And I start to feel worn out by choices I already made, replaying them to make sure they were okay. Even though there's nothing I can do about them now, and that review process takes energy too. I don't remember agreeing to spend, and it's strange because from the outside, I look fine, functional, even productive. But inside it feels like I've been quietly bracing myself all day, like I'm waiting for a test that keeps getting delayed. Every time I think I can relax, another small responsibility clears its throat and reminds me to stay alert. And I'm starting to understand that this is the real cost, not the tasks, not the errands, the mental posture of being on call for your own life. And I'm trying to push through it because responsible people don't come complain about being tired from thinking. But that doesn't stop the fatigue from setting in. And now I'm negotiating with myself about whether I've earned a break, which is ironic because the break would require another decision. And that decision feels just as heavy as the others. Smart. And there's this quiet moment where I wonder if everyone feels this or if they've just built up a tolerance for it, like emotional calluses. And I'm still functioning, still moving, but everything feels slightly slower. Like my thoughts are wading through something instead of walking freely, and the day hasn't asked anything unreasonable of me. It's just asked me to keep caring, to keep noticing, to keep choosing, and that steady demand is what's wearing me down because there's no obvious place to stop, no signal that says you can power down now. I'm still telling myself I can handle it, that this is normal, that I just need to stay with it a little longer, even as my brain quietly starts looking for the smallest excuse to rest without feeling like it failed. Eventually, the day reaches this strange quiet stretch where nothing urgent is happening, and instead of feeling relieved, I feel exposed. Like now there's nowhere for the responsibility to hide, and that's when the realization starts creeping in, not loudly, just sitting next to me like it's been there the whole time, because I've done enough to know I didn't fail, but not enough to feel finished, and that in-between space is uncomfortable because it doesn't come with instructions. And I'm standing there wondering if this is what responsible people live in all the time. This constant unfinished feeling where things are technically handled but never fully closed. I keep waiting for a signal that I can stop paying attention, some official announcement that says you did it. You can relax now, but nothing like that shows up. And I start to understand that responsibility doesn't end. It just loosens its grip slightly and waits nearby. And the hook is that this realization doesn't feel dramatic. It feels subtle, like noticing a sound that's been in the background all day, and now that I've heard it, I can't unhear it. I'm replaying the day in my head, not to judge it, just to see if there was a moment where I could have exited cleanly, but every point seems to lead to another small thing that needed attention. And I'm realizing that the idea of wrapping things up neatly might be something I made up, something that worked when responsibilities were simpler. And now I'm looking at my to-do list, not what's written on it, what's implied by it. The things that didn't make the list, but still exist. And that's when it hits me that being responsible isn't about completing everything. It's about accepting that some things just stay open. And that acceptance is harder than the work itself, because it doesn't feel productive, it just feels honest. And honesty is tiring. And I'm trying to decide if this means I should keep going or if stopping now counts as balance. Even that thought turns into another decision, another layer, and I catch myself smiling at how predictable this has become. My attempt to rest turns into a small negotiation. There's this moment where I consider declaring the day a success just to see how it feels. And it almost works until another thought pops up asking what success actually means here. And I don't have a clean answer, and that's fine. But it also means there's no clear stopping point, and I'm realizing that this open-endedness is the real lesson. The part no one explains, that responsibility doesn't give you a bow at the end. It just hands things back to you slightly more organized than before and asks you to hold on to them. And I'm standing there in that awareness, not overwhelmed, just aware, and awareness has weight. I can feel myself wanting to step away from it without fully abandoning it, like easing out of a conversation instead of hanging up. And I'm still thinking about tomorrow, not in a worried way, just acknowledging that it exists, that it's already lined up with its own set of quiet expectations. I'm telling myself I don't need to solve that yet, even as my brain gently disagrees, already drifting forward, already preparing, already staying half on, and the day never really ends. It just softens, leaving me right there in the middle of it, deciding how much attention I'm willing to give to what comes next. So by the end of the day, I don't feel like a failure, which is confusing because I also don't feel successful. I just feel aware. I've been lightly supervising my own life for 12 straight hours, and now I need a break from myself. I'm realizing that being responsible isn't about fixing everything or even doing it well. It's just about staying involved long enough that nothing completely falls apart. And honestly, that feels like enough. Because I tried, I showed up, I made decisions I didn't want to make. I worried about things that didn't need worrying. Somehow, I survived the day without anyone calling me to ask why I did what I did, which feels like a win. And I'm proud of myself in a very quiet way, not enough to brag, just enough to sit down and say, all right, that was exhausting. I think what I learned is that responsibility is fine in small doses, like a vitamin. You don't want to take too much of it at once, and I don't think I'm quitting forever. I just think I've earned a day or two where I go back to making decisions the old way. Casually, instinctively, without a committee meeting in my head, because now I know I can be responsible if I have to. And that knowledge feels comforting, like an emergency skill, not something you use every day. And as I'm settling into that thought, already feeling lighter, already relaxing a little, it occurs to me that tomorrow is technically another day. And that's when I stop thinking entirely, because I've already learned everything I needed to learn for now. And honestly, one day was enough.